Demensio Benson was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1965, right in the middle of New York City's gritty streets and fast-paced hustle culture. Growing up in a tough environment shaped him into a sharp, respected figure who moved with loyalty, discipline, and street wisdom. Unlike many chasing fame or attention, Demensio built his name quietly but powerfully. By the late 1980s, he wasn't just another hustler. He was a man known for respect, principle, and how he treated people. Through life and death, his legacy will always be closely tied to one man, Alpo. First of all, let's get two things straight. Demensio didn't extort Alpo for anything, and he didn't need anything from him. Another thing, he never laid a hand on Alpo. Just check the vibe. The energy in that situation was way too clear for that to be the case. Now, let's talk about what really happened. We all know about the tension between Alpo and Demensio. Some say Demensio was being disrespectful. But let's be real, he wasn't the first and definitely not the only one who ever disrespected Alpo. There was always something deeper going on between them, something that rubbed Alpo the wrong way. Yes, Alpo was a star. He was the superstar in every room, riding bikes up and down the block, dressed in custom designer fits, pushing the flashiest whips, throwing money in the hottest night spots. He had that energy you couldn't ignore, and I'm not taking that away from him. But then Demensio walked in the room. And that's when the real difference showed between two young hustlers getting money in the late 80s. What separates them isn't just fashion or flash. It's morals, principles, the ability to conduct business the right way, how you carry yourself, and most importantly, how you treat people. Because one thing folks will never forget is how you treated them when you were up. And by up, I mean doing well financially. I've heard from multiple people that Alpo wasn't exactly the most likable guy. There's even a story about him throwing money in a woman's face just because she didn't know who he was. Nobody deserves that level of disrespect, especially for something they can't control. If you had been in that room, you'd have seen the confusion, the looks of disgust, and you'd notice the ones laughing too. Nothing's worse than being surrounded by a bunch of yes men. You can only act that way around people who don't have anything for themselves. But when someone like Demensio steps in, the atmosphere changes. Suddenly, you're not getting all the attention. The same girls who were hanging around waiting for you to buy them something, they don't even notice you anymore. It's like the hottest girl in the club losing the spotlight when someone even badder walks in. Both men were hustlers, making money in their own ways. I don't think they ever did business together, but they moved in the same circles. Both liked taking trips OT out of town, and they'd end up crossing paths with the same women. Back then, some guys would go after each other's girls, unless there was some unwritten rule, but others didn't care at all. Alpo and Demensio were known for running through some of the flyest women, both in New York and out of town. There was even a time when Alpo had a group of dime-piece chicks from Baltimore visiting the city. He'd take them to all the hustler hotspots just to show them off. This was an era when you had to go outside to make a name for yourself. Your reputation rang bells for real, not just on social media. But a few months later, those same Baltimore chicks he had flexed with in New York, they were now in the city, not for him, but for Demensio, and Alpo hated that. Which brings us back to the core of all this. How you treat people always comes back around. Alpo used to record the women he slept with and then play those videos in front of everyone at the night spots. Just imagine how those women must have felt. Public humiliation like that can be devastating. And when a woman feels disrespected like that, sometimes the only revenge she thinks she has is to sleep with one of your close friends. Or worse, someone she knows you don't like, especially if she knows because you were pillow talking. Alpo would even go after some of Demencio's girls. He had a reputation for snatching up other men's women. Tossing them some money like that was enough. But that tactic didn't work on the ones who had sense. You gotta remember that Alpo was only around 21 at the time. He didn't know much better. Still, that didn't stop him from getting with women who belonged to other dudes, even his so-called friends. You couldn't trust him around your girl. He could dish it, but he couldn't take it. But Demencio's main chick, she was untouchable. Unlike other dudes, Domencio knew how to choose his women, and that got under Alpo's skin. What made it worse was that Alpo couldn't even get his lick back because Tasha, or whatever her name was, had a history with Domencio. She had been with him long before Alpo ever came around. So for Alpo to act like he was betrayed didn't make any sense. There's always going to be someone before you. That's just how it is with these women. You're never the first, and definitely not the last. Eventually, Alpo moved to DC looking for a fresh start. New friends, new connections, new money, and of course, new women. But there was a shift in his behavior. He wasn't acting the same way he did back in New York. He came off more humble. He started building his hustle. And when other guys from New York tried to expand into DC, Alpo would warn them, telling them they weren't ready and that they should try another city. But in the end, he was the one who wasn't ready. As he got more comfortable and started going out, he found out that Demencio was already in DC. And not just visiting, Demencio had real connections there. So now Alpo's thinking, damn, I can't escape this dude. Not only did Demencio have his girl before him, but he beat him to DC too. Alpo had been trying to scare other New Yorkers away from the city, only to find out they were already out there moving around. It was pure comedy. Alpo wanted to be the first to do everything, to be the top dog. So finding out he wasn't the first in DC got under his skin heavy. At that point, he just wanted Demencio gone. Any excuse would do. People started saying things like, "Oh, Demencio disrespected your wife," trying to stir things up. But really, it wasn't about that. It was about ego, about competition. Demencio did what he did, but he also disrespected himself and others in the process. That's why things went down the way they did. He thought he was tougher than he really was. But I wasn't playing with him. And if you remember that old interview with Pete, when the interviewer brings up Demencio and his wife, Alpo's response is just, huh, dodging the whole Tasha situation entirely like it never happened. The silence said more than words ever could. But when he said Demencio disrespected himself, like, what does that even mean? That line never sat right with me. As I've gotten older, I've realized people say the dumbest things when they're under pressure. A lot of times they lie when they're uncomfortable. He claimed Demencio disrespected a lot of people, but honestly, that reputation belonged to Alpo, not Demencio. And that's pretty much all he gave us in that interview. He wasn't about to admit he took someone's life out of pure jealousy. Let's just keep it real. Unless someone puts hands on your wife and you act out of defense, that's the kind of thing you don't forget to mention. If that was truly the reason, Alpo would have said it from the jump. But instead, he dodged it. And to make things even more telling, his wife brought flowers to the victim's mother or grandmother because she didn't even know what really happened. Just like she didn't know the truth about Rich Porter either. Alpo put on the same fake act, pretending he was just as shocked as everyone else. Demencio has a complicated history in the streets, but he will always remain a legend. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. Click the video above for more videos on Underworld Icons.